Welcome back, and thank you for being a part of Matthew's Stories. Your support means the world to us. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more captivating tales. Now, let's dive into today's story. When Jenna first got into fitness, I was her biggest cheerleader. I remember the exact day she decided to commit to her health journey. She just turned 33, and after seeing a friend's transformation on Instagram, she declared it was time to level up. I thought it was a great idea. Exercise was good for the body and mind, and it made her happy. At first, it was all at-home workouts and YouTube yoga. Then she started asking about joining a gym. I didn't mind. After all, what kind of husband wouldn't support his wife's goals? We signed her up at a fancy local gym, the kind with juice bars, eucalyptus towels, and personal trainers who could have moonlighted as models. She threw herself into it, spending hours every day lifting weights, running on treadmills, and taking classes. She said it was about more than just her body. It was about finding herself. I'd never seen her so dedicated to anything before, and I was proud. But then she started dropping hints about needing a trainer. She said she wanted to optimize her progress, and that personal trainers were the key to taking it to the next level. I balked at the cost. $200 a session wasn't exactly cheap, but she assured me it would be worth it. Think of it as an investment, she said with that sweet, convincing smile of hers. Reluctantly, I agreed. Jenna picked a trainer named Marcus. I'd seen him around the gym a few times, a massive guy with muscles like tree trunks and a personality that could light up a room. He seemed professional, always coaching someone or chatting with members, so I figured it was fine. At first, everything seemed normal. Jenna would come home from her sessions flushed and excited, talking about how much stronger she was getting and how Marcus was a genius when it comes to fitness. I was glad she was happy, even if the sessions were burning a hole in my wallet. But over time, things started to change. She began spending more time at the gym, longer than her sessions should have taken. When I asked about it, she said she was doing extra cardio or stretching. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, was now glued to her hand, and she'd angle the screen away whenever I walked by. "Who are you texting?" I asked one evening, noticing her typing furiously. "Oh, just Megan," she replied without looking up. "We're planning a girls' night." Megan was her best friend, so I didn't think much of it. But then there were the new clothes, tight leggings, tiny crop tops, and high-end sneakers. She claimed they were essentials for the gym, but I couldn't help noticing how much effort she was putting into her appearance. One night, as we were watching TV, she casually dropped a bombshell. "Marcus says I'm his most improved client," she said, smiling. "He's even invited me to this fitness event at the gym next month. It's for members and their families. You should come." "Sure," I said, trying to match her enthusiasm. But something about the way she said Marcus's name made my stomach twist. I shook it off. Jenna loved fitness, and Marcus was just her trainer. There was no reason to be suspicious. At least, that's what I told myself. As the days passed, Jenna's obsession with the gym and with Marcus grew. She talked about him constantly. Every dinner conversation seemed to circle back to Marcus's workout techniques, Marcus's motivational speeches, Marcus's protein shake recipes. It was like the man lived in our house rent-free. I started to feel a twinge of jealousy, but I brushed it off. After all, Marcus was her trainer, her coach. Of course she admired him. Still, the way her eyes lit up when she mentioned his name made me uneasy. One evening, she came home later than usual. Her face was flushed, her hair damp with sweat, and her leggings clung to her like a second skin. I tried not to notice how different she seemed, more energized, more radiant. But the unease gnawed at me. "Long session today?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. She hesitated for half a second before plastering on a smile. "Yeah, Marcus really pushed me hard. He's all about breaking limits, you know?" "Right," I said, my chest tightening. "What's with all the late sessions lately? Thought your workouts were earlier in the day." She shrugged, heading to the kitchen for water. "He's got a busy schedule, so sometimes we have to adjust." "Why, do you miss me?" Her playful tone did nothing to ease my mind. "Just curious," I muttered, letting the subject drop. But my curiosity didn't fade. The next day, while Jenna was in the shower, I picked up her phone. I'd never snooped before, It wasn't my style, but something about the way she'd been acting made me feel like I had no choice. Her messages were locked, but her gallery wasn't. I scrolled through her photos, expecting to find the usual gym selfies and progress shots. Instead, I found a picture that made my blood run cold. It was Jenna and Marcus, standing far too close for comfort. His massive arm was slung around her waist, his hand resting just above the curve of her hip. Jenna was beaming, her body angled toward him in a way that felt intimate, almost possessive. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting into knots. Maybe it was nothing, I told myself. Maybe it was just a friendly photo. But the way she looked at him, the way his hand lingered on her waist, it didn't feel friendly. That night, as Jenna got ready for bed, I tried to shake off the image. "So, what's this fitness event you mentioned?" I asked, my voice tight. "Oh, it's just a thing the gym does every year," she said, brushing her hair. "Marcus wants me to show off my progress. He thinks I'm one of his star clients." "Star client," I repeated, unable to keep the bitterness out of my voice. "Sounds like you two are pretty close." She rolled her eyes. "Don't star Jake. He's my trainer, that's all. You should be happy I'm taking care of myself." "Of course," I said, forcing a smile. "I am thrilled." But I wasn't. The warning signs were piling up, and I couldn't ignore them any longer. Something wasn't right, and I was going to find out exactly what it was. I couldn't get that photo out of my head. Jenna had always been the flirty type. She loved attention, and I'd known that when I married her. But this felt different. There was an intimacy in the way she and Marcus stood together, something that went beyond admiration or professionalism. The next day, I decided to do some digging. I'd never been the paranoid type, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on behind my back. And if Jenna wasn't going to tell me the truth, I'd find it myself. I started with her gym schedule. She claimed to be at her sessions with Marcus 5 days a week, always in the late afternoon or evening. But when I checked the bank statements for her sessions, the charges didn't add up. She'd booked far fewer sessions than she claimed to attend. Where was she spending all that extra time? Next, I checked her social media. Jenna loved posting gym selfies and motivational quotes, but something about her recent posts seemed curated. Every picture was perfectly posed, every caption a glowing tribute to her fitness journey. And then there were the comments. Marcus liked nearly every post, always leaving emojis or compliments. "Looking amazing, Jenna," or "Keep killing it, superstar." At first glance, it seemed innocent enough. But the frequency of his comments and Jenna's flirty replies told a different story. "Great work today, Marcus. You always know how to push me, winky face." The wink emoji was the final nail in the coffin. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was piling up. I needed more. I needed to know for sure. That evening, while Jenna was out for another session, I drove to the gym. I parked across the street, watching as members filtered in and out. I'd only been there a few times myself. Fitness wasn't really my thing, but I knew the layout well enough. From where I was parked, I had a clear view of the floor-to-ceiling windows. About 30 minutes later, I spotted Jenna. She was at the squat rack, laughing at something Marcus said. He was standing behind her, spotting her form, his hands suspiciously close to her waist. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I watched them interact. She'd touch his arm when she laughed, flipping her hair like a teenager on a first date. He leaned in close, his voice low, and she tilted her head, hanging on his every word. I felt sick. Whatever this was, it wasn't just trainer-client camaraderie. They were too comfortable, too intimate. I snapped a few pictures with my phone, capturing the way they looked at each other, the way Marcus's hand lingered on her back as she moved between exercises. It wasn't the hard evidence I needed, but it was a start. When Jenna got home that night, she was glowing. "Marcus said, I'm making amazing progress," she said, setting her gym bag by the door. "He thinks I could compete in a fitness event someday." "That's great," I said, my voice neutral. "Seems like you two spent a lot of time together." She shot me a look. "He's my trainer, Jake. That's what I pay him for." I nodded, biting back the accusations bubbling in my chest. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. And if Jenna thought she could fool me, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. The morning after watching Jenna and Marcus at the gym, I couldn't shake the images from my mind. The way they touched, the way they laughed. None of it looked like a professional relationship. It gnawed at me, the uncertainty turning my stomach into knots. Jenna was acting normal, as if nothing had changed. She kissed me goodbye before heading out for another session, and I pretended to smile, even as my insides twisted. As soon as she was gone, I called someone I trusted, Eddie, a friend who worked as a private investigator. I explained the situation, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't have proof yet, but something's not right, Eddie. She's too close to this trainer, Marcus. I need to know what's going on. Eddie didn't hesitate. Send me everything you have. Photos, times, locations. I'll start digging. Give me a week. I thanked him, hung up, and exhaled deeply. I wasn't proud of spying on my wife, but I couldn't sit around and do nothing while my marriage crumbled under my feet. If Jenna was lying to me, I needed to know for sure. In the meantime, I kept watching her. She was careful, but not careful enough. She started coming home later and later, claiming Marcus had extended her sessions. Her phone, once left out in the open, was now glued to her side, and she was constantly texting. Whenever I asked who it was, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Megan, obviously. Stop being so paranoid." But the biggest red flag came a few days later when I found a receipt in her gym bag. It was for dinner at a fancy steakhouse, dated the same night she claimed to be at the gym. The bill had 2 entrees and a bottle of wine, definitely not a solo meal. That night, I confronted her about it, testing the waters. "Hey, I found this in your bag," I said, holding up the receipt. "Didn't realize the gym serves steak now." She froze for half a second before laughing it off. "Oh, that's from last week. Megan and I grabbed dinner after our workout. I must have forgotten to throw it out." I stared at her, searching for cracks in her story. "Megan, huh? Guess she's more fun than me these days." Jenna rolled her eyes. "Stop being ridiculous, Jake. You know how much the gym means to me. I don't need you being all insecure." Insecure. I repeated, the word like acid in my mouth. "Right." The conversation ended there, but the seed of doubt had grown into a full-blown forest. Jenna's lies were becoming sloppier, and the more she tried to cover her tracks, the more obvious it became. 2 days later, Eddie called with an update. "You were right," he said. "She's seeing Marcus, and it's not just at the gym. I followed her last night. She went straight from your house to his apartment. They were in there for hours." My hand tightened around the phone. "Did you get proof? Pictures, timestamps, the whole 9 yards. I'll send it to you." When the file arrived, I opened it with shaking hands. The photos were grainy but clear enough. Jenna walking into Marcus's building, his massive frame waiting for her at the door. There was one shot of them through a window, her hands on his chest, his lips on her neck. My heart sank, the last shred of doubt obliterated. They weren't just having an affair. They were flaunting it. I sat there for hours, staring at the evidence, my mind racing with anger, betrayal, and a simmering desire for revenge. Jenna thought she could lie to me, humiliate me, and get away with it. But she was about to learn just how wrong she was. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those pictures. Jenna and Marcus together, their betrayal laid bare. The rage coursing through me was relentless, but I forced myself to think clearly. Confronting them outright would be too easy. I wanted them to feel the sting of humiliation, the same way they had made me feel. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had changed. Jenna was in the kitchen, sipping her protein shake and scrolling through her phone. I watched her from the doorway, my stomach churning at how casual she was, how normal she seemed. "You're up early," I said, forcing a smile. "Yeah," she replied, not looking up. "Marcus wants me to hit the gym before noon today. Says my progress is really picking up." "Marcus," I said, the name like poison in my mouth. "Seems like you two spend a lot of time together." She finally glanced up, narrowing her eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said quickly, waving it off. "I'm just saying it's great you found someone who pushes you so much." She relaxed, smiling as if I'd just complimented her. "He's the best. I don't know where I'd be without him." "You'd be right here," I thought bitterly. "With me, the man who paid for all of this." She left an hour later, her gym bag slung over her shoulder. I waited until her car disappeared down the street before making my move. Pulling out my phone, I called Eddie. Any big events happening at the gym soon? I asked. Yeah, he said. There's some kind of fitness showcase next weekend. Marcus is running it. It's open to members and their guests. A wicked idea began forming in my mind. Perfect. Can you keep an eye on them until then? I want everything. Where they go, what they do, who sees them. You got it, Eddie replied. The days leading up to the event were excruciating. Jenna continued her routine, oblivious to the storm brewing around her. She'd come home late, offering excuses about extra cardio sessions or long chats with Megan. Each lie added another log to the fire burning inside me. The morning of the showcase, Jenna was practically glowing. She wore her newest workout set, tight black leggings and a sports bra that left little to the imagination. You should come today, she said, flashing me a dazzling smile. Marcus wants to show off his client's progress, and I'm one of his stars. I forced a chuckle. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Her face lit up. Really? That's great. You'll finally see how hard I've been working. Oh, I'll see, I thought, my heart pounding with anticipation. And so will everyone else. The fitness showcase was held at the gym's outdoor courtyard, a large space lined with workout stations, banners, and a stage for demonstrations. By the time I arrived, the place was buzzing with energy. Members mingling, trainers showing off, and spectators cheering on their friends. I spotted Jenna immediately. She was standing near Marcus, laughing at something he said. She wore a confident smile, her hand brushing his arm, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to stay calm. Today wasn't just about catching them, it was about exposing them for everyone to see. And he had already set things in motion. While I pretended to wander around the event, he was in the shadows, monitoring the hidden cameras we'd set up the night before. He positioned them perfectly to capture Jenna and Marcus's interactions, ensuring that nothing would go unnoticed. I joined a group of spectators near the stage, feigning interest in a fitness demonstration while keeping one eye on Jenna. She was completely at ease, chatting with Marcus and other trainers, basking in the attention. It was disgusting how little shame she had. As the event progressed, Marcus took the stage to announce the highlight of the day, a client showcase. We're here to celebrate the incredible progress of our clients, he boomed, flashing his movie star smile. These people have worked harder than ever, and today, we get to show off their amazing transformations. The crowd clapped and cheered, and Jenna stepped forward, practically glowing. This is Jenna, Marcus said, gesturing to her. She's been one of my most dedicated clients. Her progress is a testament to discipline, hard work, and trust in the process. Jenna beamed, basking in the applause. My jaw clenched as I watched her soak up the attention, knowing what was coming. I caught Eddie's signal from across the courtyard. He gave me a subtle nod, indicating that everything was ready. My heart pounded as I walked toward the stage, my movements deliberate. I climbed the steps, cutting off Marcus mid-sentence. Sorry to interrupt, I said, my voice steady but loud enough to carry. I just thought now would be the perfect time to share something about Jenna's journey. Jenna's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing. Jake, what are you doing? I ignored her, turning to the crowd. Did you know my wife has been working with Marcus for months? She convinced me to pay for his private sessions. I thought it was just about fitness. Turns out, it was about a lot more than that. The crowd went silent, confusion rippling through the air. Marcus stepped forward, his confident demeanor wavering. Jake, maybe we should talk about this privately. Oh, we're way past private, I said, cutting him off. In fact, let's make it public. I gestured toward Eddie, who pressed a button on his tablet. The screens around the courtyard lit up, displaying the footage we'd captured. Jenna and Marcus at his apartment, their intimate embraces, their stolen moments at the gym. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Jenna's face turned ghostly pale. What the hell is this? Jenna shrieked, her voice breaking. You've been spying on me? You're damn right I have, I snapped. And look what I found. While I was working to support us, you were working on your relationship with Marcus. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear, his eyes darting around the crowd. People were whispering, pointing, and pulling out their phones to record the drama unfolding before them. "You humiliated me," I said, my voice rising. "But now, everyone knows the truth. Congratulations, Jenna. You're officially the star of the show." The courtyard erupted into chaos. Gasps turned to murmurs, then to full-blown chatter as the crowd absorbed what they were seeing on the screens. Phones were pointed at Jenna and Marcus, recording every moment of their public unraveling. The carefully curated image they'd built had crumbled in an instant. Jenna's face twisted in anger and humiliation. "How could you do this to me, Jake?" she screamed, her voice cracking. "This is private. This is our business." I stepped closer, my voice cold and controlled. "Our business? You mean like how you made our marriage a joke by sneaking around with him?" I jabbed a finger toward Marcus, who was frozen in place, his usual confidence replaced by sheer panic. "You don't understand," Jenna started, but I cut her off. "Oh, I understand perfectly," I said, my voice rising. "I understand that while I was working to support your fitness obsession, you were busy screwing your trainer behind my back. I understand that you thought I'd never catch on. But guess what? I did." The crowd was riveted, their eyes bouncing between me, Jenna, and Marcus. Someone in the back even clapped, and a few others laughed nervously. The humiliation in Jenna's eyes deepened, but I didn't care. She deserved every second of it. Marcus finally found his voice. "Hey man, this isn't the place to air out your problems," he said, stepping forward with his hands raised. "Let's talk about this privately." "Privately?" I snapped, rounding on him. "Oh, now you want privacy? Where was that sense of discretion when you were screwing my wife in your apartment?" Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Marcus's face flushed a deep red. "This isn't what it looks like," he mumbled, his bravado completely gone. "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like," I shot back. "And don't worry, Marcus. I've already sent this footage to the gym's management. Let's see how long you keep your job after this." Marcus stiffened, the realization hitting him like a freight train. He opened his mouth to protest, but no words came out. Jenna, meanwhile, was spiraling. "You're ruining everything," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "You've humiliated me in front of everyone." "No, Jenna," I said, my voice cutting through her hysteria. "You did this to yourself. I'm just making sure everyone sees the real you." The crowd, emboldened by the spectacle, started whispering louder. I caught snippets of their conversations. "Is that her husband? I can't believe she'd cheat with Marcus. This is better than reality TV." Jenna looked around, her expression wild and desperate. "Please, Jake," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "We can fix this. I made a mistake, but we can move past it." "You still here?" Incredulous. "Fix this? You think we can fix this?" I gestured to the crowd, to the screen still playing the damning footage. "There's no fixing this, Jenna. You destroyed us the moment you decided he was worth more than our marriage." She crumpled to the ground, sobbing into her hands. Marcus tried to help her up, but she swatted him away, her fury turning on him. "This is all your fault," she spat. "You said we'd never get caught." He stepped back, his face a mix of guilt and frustration. "Don't blame this on me," he shot back. "You're the one who wanted this as much as I did." Their argument only added to the spectacle, and the crowd lapped it up. By now, half the gym had gathered around, their phones recording every second. This was the ultimate betrayal, laid bare for everyone to see. As I walked off the stage, I turned to Jenna one last time. "Enjoy your moment in the spotlight," I said. "It's the only thing you'll have left after this." I walked away from the chaos without looking back. The sounds of Jenna's sobs and Marcus's flustered attempts to calm her faded behind me, replaced by the buzz of gym-goers dissecting the spectacle they'd just witnessed. I could feel the weight of dozens of eyes on my back as I pushed open the gate and stepped into the parking lot. Once I got to my car, I allowed myself a moment to breathe. My hands were shaking, not from regret, but from the adrenaline of exposing them. I gripped the steering wheel, forcing myself to steady. This wasn't over yet, but the hardest part was behind me. The truth was out, and they were finished. By the time I got home, my phone was blowing up with notifications. Friends, acquaintances, even strangers who had seen the video on social media were messaging me. Apparently, some gym members had wasted no time uploading clips of the drama online, and it had gone semi-viral within hours. "Dude, is this you?" One text read, followed by a link to the footage. "Holy crap, Jake. I can't believe she did that to you," said another. The support was overwhelming, but it was also a grim reminder of how public this had become. I wasn't sure if that made me feel satisfied or sick. Maybe a little of both. Later that evening, Eddie called. "Well, that escalated quickly," he said, his tone laced with amusement. "I'm seeing clips of your takedown all over social media." "Yeah," I muttered, rubbing my temples. "Guess I went a little nuclear." "Nuclear?" "Nah, you did what you had to do." "They deserved it," Eddie said firmly. "Besides, now everyone knows the truth. No more lies. No more games." "That's the point," I said. "I'm done being played." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and began compiling the evidence I had gathered. The next step was filing for divorce. Jenna didn't deserve another second of my trust, my time, or my resources. The money I'd spent on her gym membership, her trainer, her outfits, all of it had been wasted on someone who didn't value me. I sent everything to my lawyer that night, making sure the proof of her infidelity and misuse of funds was clear. She wouldn't get a dime more than she was legally entitled to, and I'd make sure of that. The fallout from the gym incident hit fast and hard. Jenna tried to call me multiple times over the next few days, leaving tearful voicemails begging me to talk. I didn't answer a single one. She even showed up at the house once, pounding on the door and shouting my name, but I didn't let her in. Eventually, she left defeated. Marcus, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. Word spread quickly around the gym, and his clients began dropping him like flies. Management issued a statement distancing themselves from him, and by the end of the week, he was fired. From what I heard, he left town shortly after, his reputation in ruins. Jenna wasn't faring much better. The humiliation of being publicly exposed had shattered her confidence. Her once perfect social media presence was flooded with comments calling her out for her actions. Friends she'd spent years cultivating started unfollowing her, and Megan, her so-called best friend, was nowhere to be found. I didn't feel sorry for her. She'd made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. The days following the gym incident felt surreal. Life continued, but I felt like a different man, lighter, freer, and strangely calm. Jenna's betrayal had shattered my world, but exposing her and Marcus had been a strange kind of catharsis. Now it was time to move forward. I didn't respond to Jenna's repeated attempts to contact me. Her voicemails alternated between desperate apologies and angry accusations. "Jake, I'm so sorry," she said in one message, her voice trembling. "Please, we can fix this. I made a mistake, but we're stronger than this. Don't let one stupid mistake ruin everything." The next day, her tone shifted completely. "You're such a coward, Jake. Airing out our business in front of everyone like that? Do you have any idea how humiliated I am? You should be ashamed of yourself." I deleted every message without listening to the end. She could try to rewrite the narrative all she wanted, but the truth was out, and I had nothing more to say to her. My lawyer worked quickly to finalize the divorce papers. Armed with the evidence of her infidelity, we made it clear Jenna wouldn't be walking away with much. Her gym membership? Canceled. The shared savings account? Frozen. The house? I'd already changed the locks and filed for sole ownership. I didn't expect her to sign without a fight, but surprisingly, she did. Maybe the public humiliation had drained her of the will to argue, or maybe she realized she didn't have a leg to stand on. Either way, I wasn't about to question it. The last time I saw her was when she came to pick up her belongings. She stood on the porch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her, her face pale and drawn. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked softly, clutching her keys. "There's nothing left to talk about, Jenna," I said, stepping aside to let her in. As she packed her things, she kept glancing at me, as if hoping I'd say something, anything, that might give her a sliver of hope. But I stayed silent, my arms crossed as I watched her clear out her clothes, her shoes, her workout gear. When she was done, she paused in the doorway, her eyes brimming with tears. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I met her gaze, my expression cold. You didn't just hurt me, Jenna. You destroyed us. And you destroyed yourself in the process. She flinched at my words, then nodded and walked away without another word. Marcus's downfall was equally satisfying. Eddie kept me updated on the fallout. Not only had he been fired, but word of his unprofessional behavior had spread to other gyms in the area. He'd effectively blacklisted himself, and from what Eddie heard, he'd skipped town to try his luck elsewhere. Good riddance. As for me, I focused on rebuilding my life. The house, once filled with the ghosts of my marriage, became my project. I repainted the walls, got rid of the furniture Jenna had picked out, and made the space entirely my own. I even joined a gym, not hers obviously, and started focusing on my own health. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my confidence and finding myself again. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. A few weeks after the dust settled, I found myself sitting on the back patio of my newly renovated house, sipping a beer and watching the sunset. The chaos of the past month felt like a distant memory, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. The betrayal, the lies, the humiliation, it was all behind me now. Jenna had faded from my life entirely. Once the divorce was finalized, I blocked her number, erased her from my social media, and cut ties with anyone who might keep me tethered to that chapter of my life. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to a smaller apartment across town, struggling to rebuild her image after the gym scandal. I didn't care. She was someone else's problem now. As for Marcus, I'd heard even less. Eddie mentioned that he'd been spotted working odd jobs in another state, far from the gym community where he'd once thrived. His reputation was in shambles, and no one was willing to take a chance on him. Again, not my concern. The house had become my sanctuary, a place that finally felt like home. I replaced every trace of Jenna's presence. New furniture, new decor, even a new bed. It was cathartic, like peeling away the layers of someone else's story to reveal my own. One night, I got a call from Eddie. "Hey, just checking in. How's the bachelor life treating you?" he asked, his tone light. "Not bad," I said, smiling. "It's quiet, but I think I like it that way." "Good," he said. "You deserve some peace after everything." We chatted for a while before he hung up, and I realized how grateful I was for people like him. Eddie had been my rock throughout this ordeal, someone who had my back when it felt like the whole world was against me. As the weeks turned into months, I began to focus on myself. I threw myself into work, tackled new hobbies, and even started traveling, a dream I'd put on hold during my marriage. Each step felt like reclaiming a part of myself that I'd lost along the way. Then one day, I met someone. Her name was Allison, and we crossed paths at a cooking class I'd signed up for on a whim. She was funny, down-to-earth, and refreshingly honest, a stark contrast to Jenna. We started as friends, bonding over burnt soufflés and shared laughs, but something deeper began to blossom. I didn't rush it. I wasn't ready to dive headfirst into another relationship, but for the first time, I felt hope. Jenna and Marcus's betrayal had taught me a lot, not just about others, but about myself. I'd learned the importance of boundaries, of trusting my instincts, and of not losing myself in someone else's ambitions. It was a hard lesson, but one I'd carry with me as I moved forward. As I sat on the patio that night, the cool breeze brushing against my skin, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: contentment. Life was far from perfect, but it was mine, and for now, that was enough.